Hello lovely people, I hope you're all doing well. It's been a really long time since I did a sit down video and I'm really hoping that all my camera stuff is set up and working as it should be. I've never done one in this flat even, I've been here almost a year, so it's been a while. But I wanted to do a book haul video for you today. I have just come back from Scotland at the end of this week. It's Saturday, I think I came back on Thursday, yeah. And I did a lot of book shopping in Scotland and I wanted to share with you the books that I brought back to Iceland with me. I'm sat here with my cute little mug that I also bought in Scotland from a ceramic artist that's based in my hometown, or at least her work was sold in my hometown. I think her name is like CJA Ceramics or something like that. It's like Kirsty Anderson or something. It's such a beautiful piece. I got this and I got like a lovely little vase in the same spotted effect and it's gorgeous. I love buying like from little artists and stuff when I go back to Scotland, but I also tend to do a lot of book shopping, so let's not hang around and let's get into it. I should also say it's not all books that I've bought actually now I think about it. There's also books that I had in Scotland because when I moved here I didn't bring my books over with me, and so there's a lot of books still like sitting in my parents' house that are mine and belong to me but just haven't been moved over yet. So I gradually take like boxes and not boxes but like bulk things of them over, but I also do buy a lot when I'm home. So yes, so the first one that I had in Scotland already that I'd actually bought in Iceland and then loaned my mum, and then so it came back to Iceland, is Trumpet by Jackie Kay. I absolutely love this book, and when I saw it in a secondhand store in Iceland I was like, I need to own this book. I think I had read it via my library or something, but it's really beautiful. It's about a marriage in which, oh god, how much can you say without spoiling things? The husband dies and a secret's exposed. And it kind of shocks the whole community, but obviously it's a secret that they've had within their marriage. But it's mostly a book about love and about relationships and about family dynamics that are complicated. Yeah, I really loved it, and so I wanted to own it. I also have Sunny and Me by Ross Sayers. This is a young adult novel. I found this in a charity shop in Scotland and I really enjoyed this when I read it. I read it on Kindle I think. And it's written in Scots, which I really enjoy, and it's set in a high school, and some of the stories were like the experiences were quite like what my experience of going to high school was like, and so it made me feel nostalgic, and yeah, it was a lot of fun to read. It was funny, lighthearted, and I just wanted to have a copy for myself, so I'm glad I found that one. I also bought myself King Jae-young, Born 1982 by Cho Nam-joo. This is one that probably a lot of people have heard of. I talked about it a lot when I read it a couple of years back now, and I wanted to own it partly so that I can say to people, you must read this because this book is so great. I really loved it. It's about a woman who becomes a mother in Korea, and it's about her experiences of trying to rejoin the workforce, her experiences as a woman in Korea. You can imagine there's a lot of misogyny in there. And although it's set in Korea, I really felt like there was a universality to this story, and that a lot of people who live life as a woman will understand a lot of the misogyny and the experiences that this main character has. So I really wanted to own that one. One that I've not read yet, which I had in Scotland, I think I had got this secondhand. It's Good People by Hannah Kent. I really enjoyed Burial Rights when I read it a few years ago and wanted to read more of her work. Her books are compelling, you cannot put them down. And so I was excited to pick this one up, and it's really just set in Scotland, but I sometimes think when I'm in a bit of a rut with my reading, a quick book is what I need, and I think this will be good for those moments, so I'm looking forward to reading that. I also have The Trouble with Goats and Sheep by Joanne Cannon. This was another one that was sitting in my room in Scotland. I had read, what was her other book now? Something about Elsie, 3 Things About Elsie, or 3 Things About Someone. Was it Elsie? Josie? Not sure. Anyway, this one's a mystery, and it's set in a small town in 1976, and it's about the secrets of that town and these 2 young 10-year-olds who are investigating the secrets and unraveling them. And I enjoyed her other book, so I'm curious what this will be like, but I've never tried to pick it up, so that's awaiting me. Oh, another thing, Mum actually gave me some books as well that she had finished with, and she sort of passes them on to me if she thinks it's something I will enjoy, and I do the same with her, and she we tend to like swap books a lot. So this one's one that she passed on to me. It's Kristen Hanna and it's Wild. I had like extra space in my bag at the end when I was packing up, and I was like to my mum, okay, help me choose a few books from your stash that you have that I could take with me. And read, and this was one of the ones she picked up. I said, choose your favourite, so she picked this one up. It's a mystery. It's set in a wood. Well, it's not set in woodlands, but from a woodlands, a young girl appears who's been missing, and it's like, oh, where's this girl been? And there's a child psychologist put on the case. It sounds like dark and twisty, and like I'm curious. I also love like psychological like things, like thrillers and stuff. I sort of fell out the loop with them a little bit when I did my masters in criminology, because I felt like it was just a bit much to be like studying so much psychology and studying so much crime, and then also reading like darker things. But I do really like them, so maybe this is the one that gets me back into them. Also, she passed on to me The Last White Man by Mohsin Hamid. This one's about a guy who wakes up one day and he is black, I think, it says, one morning Anders wakes to find that his skin has turned dark, his reflection a stranger to him. And it's him like coming to terms with that, and Mum said it's a lot about like grief and about like I think relationships and stuff as well. But it wasn't like exactly what she was expecting, so I'm curious like how I'll find it and what I'll think of it. But I think it'll be good, so I wanted to take it with me. For my Christmas last year, I was gifted In a Holidays by Christina Lauren, and didn't get a chance to stick it in that suitcase, but I got it in this one. And I prioritised it because I wasn't sure when I'm next going back to Scotland, and I wanted to have the option to read a holiday book closer to that season, like say I was only going back really close to Christmas, or I don't know, I just wasn't sure what I was doing, so I thought let's take this with me and it'll be a fun read. I've enjoyed quite a few of Christina Lauren's books actually. I really got hooked on her work from reading Love and Other Words, and then I also liked The Soulmate Equation, but there was one that I was trying to read twice in a blue moon that I've never managed to get into, and I don't know if it's because of the whole like second chance romance thing just isn't really my vibe. But I find her books like gripping and kind of sometimes have like unusual things that you're not expecting, and sometimes quite original plot lines in my opinion, and I thought given this one's set at Christmas it'll be a good like cosy read for that season, so I'm looking forward to it. I also picked up Alice in Borderland, the first issue in this manga series by Haru Aso. I read Zom 100? Yeah, Zom 100, the series. I read like issues 1 to 8 like quick succession, and I requested from a library that they buy the last like 3 issues in that series, but I thought while I was waiting for that I would like to maybe start his other series, because I thought he had like a really good storytelling ability, and I loved his like use of imagery and his pacing of the book, and I thought like it had so many good elements to it that I look for in manga and in graphic fiction, and yeah, this one is intriguing as well. It's about like a young lad who gets transported to an unusual world with his friends and has to like play a game to get out of this world. I think it's been a Netflix TV series, which my boyfriend was like, we could watch that together, and I was like, let me read the books first. So I'm going to have to do that, and then we can watch that together. I also had back in Scotland Why Be Happy When You Could Be Normal by Jeanette Winterston. This is like the kind of autobiography or biography, memoir. I never know which is the right one, if it's biography or autobiography. I can never remember, and that's quite embarrassing for a booktuber to admit, but here we are. But this is like her memoir, and I'm curious what it'll be like. I don't know that I know loads about this author, but I think the storyline like intrigued me, like her story intrigued me, and yeah, a lot of people recommended it, so I thought it would be interesting, but I think it's quite heavy hitting for some reason. I have in my head that it's going to be a heavy hitter, so yeah, you kind of have to be in the mood for those, so let's see how we go on. But speaking of Kim Jae-young and Cho Nam-ju, I also bought when I was home Saha, their new title. This is like a thriller kind of vibe, and it's got like sci-fi elements. It's like town is a privatised country controlled by a secret organisation known as the Seven Premiers. It's a society clearly divided into the haves and have-nots, and those who at the very least live on the Saha estates. Among their number is Jin Ka-young, a young woman whose brother Do Ka-young was in a relationship with Sue and quickly became the police's prime suspect when Do Ka-young disappears, Jin Kyung is determined to get to the bottom of things. And it's like mystery twisty. I was looking for this, and every retailer said it wasn't out until like August, September time. But then I saw it in my hometown's local bookshop and was like, And I said to him, like, oh, I was really excited to see this because I've been looking for it everywhere. And he was like, oh, if you're ever looking for a title, just let us know. And I thought, like, I feel really bad. Because I probably should have said, I don't think it's out yet, this one. But I wasn't sure, and I didn't want him to feel bad and take it out of my hands when I was like clutching it. So I'm just excited to read it, and should really get to it before its due date so I can be like super excited about it when it comes out. But one that I had lent, well, a couple here now that I lent to my mum. The first one is A Kind of Spark by Elle McNichol, which I really loved when I read it. I think I listened to the audiobook of it and then bought the physical copy. I think now in Iceland I have all of Elle McNichol's books, so that's super exciting. And it's about Addie, and Addie goes to learn about the witch trials in Edinburgh and history of that, and I just loved it. It was great. I thought it was brilliant. Is there something coming out which is like another part of Addie's story? Am I imagining that? I know she definitely has another one coming out soon, and I thought it was related to this, unless it's related to her other book, Like a Curse, which I've not read yet. Could be. But yeah, I really like Elle McNichol's work, and I'm looking forward to continuing to read more. I also passed on Hex by Jenny Fagan to my mum. This is like an aggressive, like angry short story about a woman who's spending her last night in a prison cell in Edinburgh. I loved it. I thought it was great. I used to work in prisons in Scotland, so maybe there was a bit of like, yeah, so angry at the system, and like also like probably I don't know if I should be saying that publicly. Also, it's set like historically, so it's a lot of like things that happened to women in history in Scotland, and I love all that kind of stuff. It's had so many things which I was like, this is just so much my jam. And yeah, I'm looking forward to maybe passing it on to someone or something, but I just wanted to have it here. Where did I buy this? I bought this one in Topping & Co in Edinburgh. I had a lovely day out, me and Helge, in Topping & Co. We were there for like 3 hours, which is mostly my fault, but he was enjoying himself too, he assures me. But the one that I went away with was The Deep by River Solomon. I bought a few books as well for my friends' kids and stuff, but this is one I bought for me. I've read this already. It's about like mermaids who jump off. It's about slaves who have died from jumping off slave ships, and they become mermaids, and there's this underworld that they've created for themselves, and it's like their story and their unburdening of the trauma and their shared trauma, and there's one person who holds the trauma for everyone. I absolutely loved this book when I listened to it, and I didn't own it. I had bought another one of River Solomon's books when I was in Denver. I saw An Unkindness of Ghosts, I think it was, that I bought, and I was like, I need it. And I asked if they had this one in at the time. It was this really great bookshop, actually. Oh, what was it called now? Can't remember. I posted it on Instagram, but I love the bookshop. It's a great place. But yeah, I just really wanted to own this one and have it on my shelf so I could pick it up again sometime maybe. Another one that I read when I lived in Scotland but hadn't like brought over with me. I read it many years ago, maybe as long as like 7, 8 years ago. It's called What Doesn't Kill Us by Professor Stephen Joseph, A Guide to Overcoming Adversity and Moving Forward. This is a lot about like trauma, PTSD, and like survival, and it really gave me a new perspective on some of the things I had experienced in life. I had like an experience really of like PTSD and was really recovering, probably in the throes of reading this book, but it gave me a new perspective on things and a new kind of like way, I guess, to think about it in my mind, which was really helpful for me at that time. And so in that way the book became really meaningful to me, and I wanted to have it as like one of the ones that I have on my shelf, do you know what I mean, in my home. So I'm really glad that I can now do that. Right, we're through one stack of books, but there's still another stack, so I hope you're still with me. This is one that my mum passed on to me, Jojo Moyes, The Giver of Stars. It's about a library, isn't it? No, sorry, not a library. It's about sisters who bring books to this town where this woman lives who's unhappily married, it seems, and doesn't really enjoy some elements of her life, and she finds escape through the books. It says, but when the father-in-law and the town suddenly turns against the woman who bring the books, Alice fears she'll lose her freedom, friendships, and a chance of unexpected love. I think my mum said this was quite like light-hearted, and I have been kind of craving that a bit more recently, so I thought I would take it and give it a go. I also took with me one from her like gifted, like passed on collection, The Little Paris Bookshop by Nina George, because I'm going to Paris next week for my work, and I'm wanted to like get in the mood, and I thought this might help. I did actually afterwards pick up another book from the airport, so I'll probably read this after I finish that one, but I thought it'd be nice to read something that's set in Paris when I'll be there. But it's about a man who runs a bookshop. This bookseller possesses a rare gift for sensing which books will soothe the troubled souls of his customers. The only person he is unable to cure, it seems, is himself. So I'm kind of curious about this wee man in his bookshop, and thought it would be like kind of a cosy read. I'm hoping it'll be a cosy. Okay, it cut out of me there, so I'm hoping I've reset this all up just as it should be. But I'm looking forward to reading that one when I'm in Paris. I'm hoping to pick it up then. Also for light reading, Mum and my grandma recommended to me Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. This is about a woman who works in a company, like a science research institute, in the 1960s, and she's made redundant, or she's forced to resign. Yeah, she's forced to resign. And she instead signs up to be the host of a cooking show, and it's about like her new fame, I think. And Mum says it's like funny, it was like light-hearted, and it was a good read. And my grandma also liked it, so 2 votes in favour of this one. I think it'll be a good one. Also, one book that I got in the Verso sale, probably during COVID, actually, is Revolting, Prostitutes by Molly Smith and Juno Mack. I got the ebook copy of this sent to me, and then they sent the physical copy to Scotland. And it's like written by sex workers, and it's about sex work and sex workers' rights, what it's like to be a sex worker, and the industry, and etc. And I think I'm going to learn a lot from reading this book, so that's why I'm looking forward to picking it up. My mum also passed on to me Ken Follett's book A Place Called Freedom. This follows 2 characters, one who is a slave, who I think gets... but as a man of principles and courage, he has the strength to stand up for what he believes in, only to be able to be labelled as a rebel and an enemy of the state. Follows him, and it also follows somebody who's born to wealth and privilege, and their paths collide as she helps him, and then it's like, I think about their shared fate and their individual fates, and I think it sounds good. Mum is a big fan of Ken Follett, and I've never read anything from him, so maybe this is the one that I should rectify that with, because it does sound good. A book that I was reading when I was there, reading before I was there, and apparently I'm still reading now. I'm nearly finished. I'm like very, very close. It's called If You Were There by Francisco Garcia. It's about a guy who, his dad, it's basically like a part memoir, part kind of investigative journalism. The author's dad was largely absent from his life, and at one point or another decided to become missing, made himself missing from the family's life, and went to Spain where he was born. I think both his parents were Spanish, but he grew up in Scotland, if I'm remembering all the details right. As I said, I've been reading this over a while, but I found it really interesting. It made me look again at my own perception of what missing means. I always think of missing in some way as being a powerless act, like you've not had any choice in your own being missing, and like everyone's looking for you to find you and save you. But this made me think about like the cases in which somebody is missing by choice. They've decided to make a choice to be missing from that person's life, and I think that's like a very different thing, but legally classified as missing. And it just made me reassess my own like ideas and perceptions of what it means to be missing. But that's obviously only part of it. It also talks a lot about homelessness, mental health, and other topics which I find really interesting. And it's set in Scotland largely, so it's like hyper local for me, which increases the interest level. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm just going slow. There are parts of it, I will say, which are a little bit repetitive because he's kind of going over his own story. But still, it's a good read. I like it. I also have The Blind Man's Garden by Nadim Aslam. This is one that my mum passed on to me. It follows two foster brothers, one of whom after 9/11 goes to Afghanistan to help provide support and aid there, I think. And their father is blind, which is where the Blind Man Garden, I think, reference comes from, although I'm not sure exactly. And I think it's just about like a family torn apart by war, the impact of war. I think it's going to be quite a heavy read, to be honest, but Mum said it was brilliant, so I'm looking forward to it. It's also shortlisted for the DSC Prize for South Asian Literature, which is a prize that I was sort of following a little bit for a while there, so that's exciting for me. Yeah, looking forward to it. I need to stop saying looking forward to it. I realised I've done that for the last 3 books, so it's very clear that I'm looking forward to all of these books. My lip's bothering me, sorry. In a buy one get one half price offer at Waterson's, I got this one and one from Mum, which was like set in a garden by a Scottish writer, and it just sounded really like good. But I got this one. So Michael Patterson's Boyfriends, it's called, and it's a memoir on grief, and it's written through like letters. His friend dies shortly after they take a trip to the Scottish Highlands, so I'm not sure if there'll be like some Scottish references in there as well, which I love. And I just really like things that are written in letters as well, and I also love things that explore grief. I think grief's a really powerful emotion, and I enjoy like exploring that through writing and through reading. I think it's a really like nice, comforting way to access those feelings. So I'm looking forward to seeing what this author brings to that kind of topic in his own experience. Also have an issue of Gutter magazine, which is like Scottish and international writing. I find that most of the offers have a link to Scotland, and I know that Eli Piercy has a piece in here. I've enjoyed other things that they've written, and I have Duck Feet still on my shelf just looking at me from across the room. But yeah, it's like all kinds of different writing, short stories, poems. Yeah, I really like that kind of thing, so I thought this is a win-win for me. But yes, I also have, I should say, I think I'm subscribed for theirs like for another year, so I should have more of these coming. I've read one already, and I have one on my TBR, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was good, so I'm hoping that issue is as well. When I was in the airport, these are my final 2 books. When I was in the airport, I saw like a 2 buy one get one half price or something on books, and I was like, can't resist it. A bargain, cannot resist more books. So I shoved more in my bag. The first one that I got was Colditz, Prisoners of the Castle by Ben Macintyre. I've read from Ben Macintyre it was like a spy book set in Russia, but it was like part fiction, part non-fiction, like fiction based on fact basically, which was a really, really great read, and I really liked his writing. So I thought I'll try his non-fiction. This is non-fiction. It's Colditz was a prison for people that was set up in Nazi Germany as part of their regime, and I think it's going to be extremely harrowing, this, but I'm fascinated by World War II. I did a lot of study of that in school, and so return to that interest is like really something that I do enjoy doing, learning more about it. And I'd never heard of this prison, so I was curious about how it fits into the knowledge that I have of Nazi Germany and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm curious about that one. But I went from sort of one extreme to the other in my buy one get one half price, really, because the other one I got was called Really Good Actually by Monica Hazley, and I can confirm it is really good actually. But it's about a woman who, as you can tell, everyone see that joke all week, can you? I mean, really. But it's about a woman who gets divorced after being with her partner for 10 years, and she's like in the divorce proceedings, and she's like trying to figure out what life is like on her own. She's no longer a we, she's an I, and like all these things that like I thought were preferences but actually were not, and the ways in which you can become shaped by your partnership, and then when you're not in it, it's like you discovering new sides of yourself, and she's like very in the early stages of that. I think if anyone's been through like a big breakup or a divorce, or even like just having your heart broken, actually there's a lot of stuff in here that's like really relatable. You maybe see parts of your experience in here. I can certainly say I have. And Marianne Keyes puts it quite well, like wildly funny, almost alarmingly relatable, which I think is like quite good. It is a really funny book. It's made me like actually laugh out loud quite often, but there are also like darker themes. Like, she's definitely dealing with a depression and she's like struggling with her mental health and stuff, so be aware of that going in if that's a trigger for you. But I would really recommend this book. I think it's a debut and I think it's just recently out, and yeah, it's been brilliant so far. I'm over halfway through, so hopefully I'll finish it up maybe this weekend. It's very, like, you do not want to put it down, so I would recommend it a lot. Yeah, I've done really well in my book haul, I'm not going to lie to you. I think the majority of my case weight coming over was books, because there's a lot here to read, and I've just been having a lot of fun last night and such, like reorganising my bookshelf and such, and yeah, I'm looking forward to getting these slotted into that, and yeah, it's going to be really nice. Get reading them all as well, importantly, because that's why we buy all these books, of course, is to read them all. So I think that's me for this video. I would like to come back and tell you that I will be really back to posting very regularly, but I really can't make any promises because I'm not always the most regular poster on any platform anymore. And I think I'm just coming to terms with the fact that that's just okay, and maybe one day I will come back to being really regular with these things, but just now it's just when it strikes and when everything is in place that it works out that way is when it happens. So let's ride that wave for a little bit, I guess, and see how we get on. I look forward to seeing you when I see you, and I hope it's very soon. And I'm hoping to share some kind of favourites from the year so far, maybe on Instagram, unless I get some surge of creativity with making more YouTube videos. But until then, I will see you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.